Good evening. People are still coming in, but it's just 7:30, so maybe we'll just get started with some of the formalities, and then we'll move on to our lecture for this evening. My name is Paul Nitupski, and I work in the Department of Theology and Religious Studies, and I'm really honored and happy tonight to be introducing our guest speaker. But before we do that, I'll just say a few things about the Tuohy Chair. The Walter and Mary Tuohy Chair of Interreligious Studies was established at John Carroll in 1966. So we really have a long history of wonderful events, speakers, and visiting scholars, and all different kinds of events. So tonight we'll continue in that tradition with a terrific presentation. Before I turn the microphone, I'm learning to like it now. Before I turn it over to our formal introduction, I'll just remind you that the Tuohy Chair will also sponsor next week on Wednesday, April 20th, right here, a concert of Indian devotional music. So this is really something special, and the title of it is Remembering the Divine, Devotional Music in South Asia. So this is something very interesting. We'll have a group here of local musicians and also musicians from other places around the state and elsewhere. So that's really exciting, and it's really the concert is really innovative for the fact that they will be singing devotional music from different religious traditions. So I'll just stop there, and if you want to know which religious traditions, please come next week on the Wednesday the 20th. So I think that's what I have to say, and I think I'm going to get pulled off the stage. And before that happens, I'll hand the mic over to my colleague, Dr. Bo Liu, from the Art History Department.
Thank you, Paul. It's my great honor to introduce Dr. Qiang, our today's speaker for Tuohy lecture series. Dr. Ning got his BA from Sichuan University in China and his PhD from Harvard University in art history. He has been taught at San Diego State University, Yale University, and University of Michigan. Currently, he is Chu Ni-Black Associate Professor in Asian Art from Connecticut College. Dr. Ning has published extensively in Chinese art and art along the Silk Road, including many articles and seminars. His books include Art, Religion, and Politics in Medieval China, which is published by University of Hawaii Press, and Studies in Dunhuang Cave Shrines by People's Fine Art Press in China. Just 2 books, and I don't know if he has more. His research interest is art and archaeology along the Silk Road and contemporary Chinese art. In addition to being a scholar, he is also an artist. He is an established painter in China, and actually he's one of the most expensive painters. I know the number, but I don't think I'm allowed to tell you. But anyway, he's a scholar and an artist. Okay, let's welcome Dr. Ning for his lecture today, Art, Ritual, and Secret Space on the Silk Road.
All right. I guess, could you hear me from back? All right, good. Oh, I just use this then, this microphone. Oh, thank you, Paul, and Paul, for your kind introduction. It's a great honor to speak in this series and at this beautiful campus. When Paul contacted me on a possible topic to speak here on the Silk Road, art and archaeology, I thought about this. It's not an easy topic because the field of Silk Road art and archaeology is huge. It covers a wide distance, wide area, right, from East Asia to Europe, and covered a period of 1,000 years at least. Then how we are going to introduce the Silk Road art and archaeology in a single lecture? So I started to think about this. I guess maybe Pat encountered the same challenge, right? When you think about this. Then, as a scholar, you always think about how to challenge this topic with in-depth analysis. And in the same time, considering the coverage and a general concept of the art and archaeology. So we tried different ways to define and conceptualize the art and archaeology of the Silk Road, and tried different ways to conceptualize it. There is one way to conceptualize it. It's a visual concept of the Silk Road. So I thought about what the Silk Road is about. Generally, we understand it started as a trading road between China and the West. And how far is the West? Right? Normally, we would think about Central Asia. From the Chinese side, the so-called the Western regions. In the Chinese mind, the Western regions primarily would include current Central Asian nations like Afghanistan, say Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, and the western part of China. Then, if we just define it geographically, then we encounter the challenge to actually explain why we are doing this in such an academic way and why we're so enthusiastic about the Silk Road itself. So I did a painting on this entitled 新丝绸之路 or New Silk Road. Chinese government now is drumming up a new policy called One Belt, One Road. It's eventually to revitalize the Silk Road, to establish a new tie from China to Europe. And that's economically mostly. Then, if we approach it from a perspective of cultural studies, from artistic studies, how we're going to do it. Then I thought about this, and Paul is a religious studies scholar, right? So I said, I thought about this, is this an encounter or transmission of religious ideas or artistic ideas or a cultural ideas? So then I had the, no. See, I try to get this one back. All right. I hit the wrong button. So we get a Buddha to represent East Asia. You see, Buddhism is a religion that has been shared by East Asian people, right? The Chinese, the Korean, the Japanese. Then to have an icon of Buddhism probably is politically and culturally correct. So I got a Buddha there, and then in the West, then I thought about Islamic icon, right? Suppose Central Asia and even the Middle East, the western part of Asia might be say, represented by Islam or Islamic icons, then I thought we actually cut off part of the Silk Road. The main part of the Silk Road actually is extending to North Africa and the central part of Europe. And the beginning point, the western side, actually is commonly recognized as from Italy, right? From Rome to Chang'an, the Chinese capital in the north. And at the end, then it comes this way, the encounter of two main civilizations as represented by religious traditions. We have Buddhist tradition and we have the Christian tradition. And I think it is appropriate to talk at Qiang, right? The Christian civilization and the Eastern civilization, and at the middle, first I thought about a star and a crescent might be appropriate for Islamic civilization, but finally I figured maybe just the camels and the caravan might do the connection because it is in between connected. So that's my vision about the Silk Road, or my visual interpretation of the Silk Road, and my visual definition of the Silk Road. It is a road that connects cultures, that connects civilizations, that generate religious dialogue, that produce new cultures, and that connects the past and the present. And that is what the Silk Road is about. And this is why we need to rethink about the value of the Silk Road. This is how we value our research of the Silk Road. So here I got a map of this, and then here we in the United States, we are actually, so this is how new we are, right? We're separated from the Silk Road connected civilizations, right? From China to Europe and Africa. So here is the central land of China, Chang'an, and here you go to Italy and the Mediterranean area and North Africa. So this the region we have to talk about when we talk about Silk Road art, religion, and culture. Probably say in order to link today's talk with yesterday's talk and extend further east, you go to Korea, you go to Japan. And to the south, you go to Southeast Asia. And of course, we can't miss the South Asian tradition. This is where Buddhism started and spread all over. So this is the regions we're going to keep in mind when we think about the value of the Silk Road. And I believe most of you already know where the Silk Road actually, the idea of the Silk Road actually came from. So you see, that's the locations where pieces of silk were excavated and discovered. Of course, the Silk Road is only a concept, right? It's not like people only traded silk along the road. Instead, silk trading is only a, say, small part of this trading. However, since the fabric, right, the silk pieces could be well preserved, and we do have a lot of literary records about the silk trading, like in Greek language, right? People mentioned, and in Rome, how noble women wear silk from China, and how local merchants saved silk as kind of currency, like a gold, right? Deposit silk. And so we see the value and the influence of the material silk itself. So that is probably later on when the German archaeologist and geographer say Lischhoff actually named this trading road the Silk Road about 200 years ago. So I use this map to help you understand, and we have an orientation on the Silk Road itself. Indeed, pieces of silk actually discovered along the road. We understand first, silk trade started by the Chinese, and then silk as a kind of merchandise sold to Central Asians, and the Central Asians actually sold to the Roman market and to Europeans and to North African people. So the Silk Road is not like today's trading road. You do direct kind of trade. Instead, mostly it's sold section by section, and gradually the items, the goods made their way, right? Maybe from Rome to, say, Central Asia, to Persia, and then to western part of China, and then to the Chinese market, and then to the Japanese market. So it's interesting to think about the transmission of culture, of art, not in a direct way, like today, right? If you want to get in touch with a Chinese artist, it's easy. Then you just fly him to this campus, then you got direct contact. But in that time, when we think about how a culture, a civilization, an art would be transmitted into different regions and enter in different traditions, it could be in different ways. That's what the Silk Road art reminds us. It could be through middlemen, through double middlemen, and you just keep going that way. And in this process, meaning and function could be lost at the middle. People might reinterpret the same thing in a totally different way in different regions. So that's a very interesting way to think about this. Should we run out of battery or something? Oh, sorry. So, I think, yeah, maybe.
Just give me a signal. I can let you know.
That's okay. All right. Okay. So, then the gap between contemporary archaeological discoveries and the actual materials traded on the Silk Road is another issue I think we should analyze. Most scholarship would treat the materials as an actual reflection
of what happened on the Silk Road. But what happened is the materials we have today, only the survival materials, a lot of things might have vanished in history. And that might cause our misunderstanding of the Silk Road. You see, the materials traded on the Silk Road, like this one, right? A glass bowl with circle decoration, for example, very possibly originally produced in the present region of Syria or part of Iraq. In that region, Syria used to be a place where fine quality glasswares were produced. Say, like there is a glass museum, right, at the University of Michigan, and excavation, now it's a battlefield, right, in Syria. A lot of this kind of wares, glasswares were discovered over there. But there might just a very small part of the goods that traded on the Silk Road traveled a long way from western part of Asia, or what we call Middle East, from a western eye, right? We call it Middle East. But from a Chinese point, it's West Asia. This kind of thing traveled a long way to China and somehow survived. Do we actually know how they transport this kind of thing from, say, Syria to China? Travel this long way? So do we have any student that actually can guess this? Anyone? But anyway, I guess maybe it's not a classroom that easy to interact with you. But I will tell you, one way to transport this is you plant seeds in this kind of glassware with a little dirt in it. And on the way, it normally takes 3 years and a half to get your load from Rome to China. Then you just plant a seed. It'll grow, say, like ivies, right? And then the plants fix this kind of glasswares on your loading carts. And then, so they could be as light as possible, but in the same time, fixed. It won't be easily broken. And come along with this kind of glassware is the idea of pattern and visual art. The design of a glass bowl and the patterns, this kind of circle pattern decoration did not exist, or at least not popular in East Asia. It's a Western Asian and a Persian tradition to have this kind of connected circles as the main pattern as decoration. So in Chinese golden ware and in fabric and other and on the murals, you won't see this. So we do see along the Silk Road, in addition to the actual practical goods, you see a lot of things actually with added value of visual art. Visual art then become a, say, tool to increase the value of goods. It's just like today, right? When you try to sell, even you sell a golden piece, for example. You get one. Yes. This piece, right? gold as expensive material traded, maybe traveled a long way. If it is a long distance trade, you want to have expensive material as a guarantee of the profit. But just as a material, it won't give you that much of profit. Then here comes the value of visual art. And then you say the fine design and craftsmanship to add value of the goods of the Silk Road. So you have this kind of decorative pattern, and here comes the transmission of religious ideas as well. You say the deities were casted or carved on the cups or on some kind of utensils and made their way, say, from Europe to China and some from China to Europe. So that would provide an opportunity for us to think about the transmission of religious belief, concepts, along with the trade of expensive materials. So it's a very interesting and stimulating materials that would help us understand the value of the Silk Road. And the materials from Yin. Yesterday, Pat talked about this. So I just want to show you the high quality of the goods traded on the Silk Road. These items must have been made, say, in the western part of Asia and made its way thousands of miles eastern world to the Chinese market and to the Japanese imperial collection. So it's a very fine glassware and silver plate. Then what happened on the Silk Road today? So the materials I showed you today, some are from published materials, some from my own photo. So with the support, grant support from Yale University, I took the Yale Faculty of Art History and East Asian Studies to the Silk Road 4 times. And in order to actually gain access to the materials in the desert, we had to, say, ride on camels. And that is one photo that actually also reflect the ancient way of travel and trade, right? You upload your materials, the goods to the camels, and then you move forward from one place to the other. So can you get the, yeah, next. All right, that's a close up, and these folks, we know each other very well. It is because even today, the sites, archaeological sites and new discoveries of the Silk Road, it's still in the desert. A lot of places actually could not be reached by cars. It's very difficult, and then you just have to ride on camels for hours to actually gain sight of the materials in the Silk Road. All right, next. Then we flash back to the ancient time. the most well-known Buddhist monk who traveled the Silk Road to India is monk Xuanzang, the Tang monk. Well elaborated in the, a fiction, a Chinese novel called Journey to the West. And an earlier version translated from Chinese to English by Wei as The Monkey, right? The Monkey is the older version of translation of the Tang monk's story. When we look at the Silk Road art and archaeology, mostly we look in an academic eye. However, the Silk Road, the people who traveled the Silk Road are real people. They have their feelings. They have their emotions. And they have their challenges, difficulties, and their passion, their dream. And they died on the Silk Road, and some survived. So when we look back to the Silk Road, we can't just make ourselves so dry, right? It's just to say, oh, it's a corpse, or this is a dried mummy, or this is just a piece of silk. That is a piece of silk used by people. And this monk, this is a painting by me. I always try to say, understand people when you actually create their images. Then sometimes you get so close to them. Instead of as an art historian, we read the text, we look at the visual materials, but mostly in a distance, right? You can't involve yourself psychologically. But sometimes you do need to involve psychologically, and just like step in their shoes, in a way, you understand the people and the materials better. This is my feeling and my experience to it. So you say a lonely traveler. This one, and worship the Buddha, and then walking in the endless desert alone. That might be your death journey. You might just die by losing water and run out of food. You die. And it's very often, it's easy to die. It's scary, but also tempting. So when I created this painting, I get my own head. I used my iPhone, took a shoot of my head, and then I got this as this Tang Dynasty monk. Imagine I am the monk walking into the desert, then I might die there. So we see the courage, the passion for spiritual need, right? This monk traveled to India and learned the Sanskrit language, learned Buddhism, and carried back a lot of scriptures back to China, and then made this religion flourish in East Asia. And so in this kind of way, I think we gain insight into the visual materials, archaeological discoveries along the Silk Road. And this is the same monk, monk Xuanzang, depicted in a cave that was built by the Tangut people. Maybe this term is sort of alien to you. Tangut people, say, established a kingdom called the Xia Kingdom. And because it's located in the western part of China, then it's popularly known as the Western Xia Kingdom. they established a very powerful kingdom. And one of their favorite motif is this Tang Dynasty monk. It's very interesting. This is a Han monk, right? The Chinese monk, but favored by the Tangut people. Then what this, oh, too fast. All right. So this is a map reconstructed. This is the Western Xia established by the Tangut people, say from the 11th century to 13th century. So their kingdom existed in about 200 years, then vanished in history. They have their languages written and spoken, and now nobody actually understands it. And the written language, only a few scholars could speak. Not speak, actually, they don't know how to pronounce it, but could decode it, the written language, but only a few. You see how many people we have today, only a few, just 2 or 3. So this is the kingdom. It's quite large. It's almost half of the Song dynasty, right? You see, it's very powerful, and the clash between this kingdom, Western Xia, and the Song, and the Liao, even more powerful in the north. So it's a mythical group of people with mythical religion, and say mythical society. Now it's gone. But their Buddhist cave shrines survived well. And that's the main resource we can actually gain insight into this group of people and their religion, their art. It's very interesting to us, not only for us to understand the Tangut people, but the people around them, and the people before them, and the people after them. So it's a group of people very gifted in taking in culture, religion, art from other people. They learn very quick, and then they establish themselves. So that would be the case I'm going to use today to gain more inner analysis of the art and the culture of the Silk Road, and how their religious practice was carried out, and how their visual art actually is established, and what we can learn from them. So that would be something I want to use as a case study today of a Western Xia secret cave. In addition to the caves, also their royal tombs survive. Today in China, there is a small province called the Xia. Again, that's a remote memory, right? Called Ningxia. But now it's more resided by the Muslim population. There, it's not the Buddhist people anymore. But that's the land of the Western Xia, the Tangut kingdom, and their king. So the tomb, the graveyard, huge. So this afternoon, I guest speak at a class. We talked about the funeral culture of China. That is the funeral culture of the Western Xia kingdom. So we have a dome. That's the main location of the corpse, and you have passageway toward it, called the spirit path. Then you go toward, and you have front gate decorated with this kind of animal heads as guardians to protect. Here is the place that kept the secret cave shrine of the Tangut people. It's called the 10,000 Buddhas Valley, or Wanfoxia. Landon Warner, the great archaeologist from Harvard, went to this place and photographed some of the cave shrines there and came back to Cambridge, and he published a book entitled The 10,000 Buddhas Valley, right? 10,000 Buddha Caves. There's a monograph in English. That's where he published his book. And this is how this valley looks like today. The cave shrines were constructed on two sides of this valley, the western side and the eastern side. That's how the valley is located. And this is the location of the cave. This group of cave shrines is called the Ning Caves. And most Ning caves were open to the public and easy to go, except one. It's located so in this collapsed part and behind a big rock. And it was called a secret cave, a mimiku, a secret cave. So it's very interesting why people call it secret. It's simply because it's a physical location behind a huge rock and away from the main group of caves, or there is religious reason behind it, or say other reasons to call it a secret cave. It's located somewhere here. So here is a sort of sketch to show the eastern cliff of the Yunlin Valley. And that's where the secret cave is located. It's cave number 29. It's here. So the main part is these caves, and this remote part behind the big rock is cave number 29, right? Is this an actual photo? It's behind this big rock and difficult to go. Now they build corridors, so it's easier to gain access to this secret cave. But this secret cave shut off from the public, so it was closed for decades, and it's difficult to actually get to that place. Another perspective is because that cave is dark, and the paintings inside were covered by smoke. So it's difficult to actually see it. When I enter this cave, you have to use really a very strong flashlight to look very closely, and then it's covered by oiling kind of smoke. It's not a regular smoke from wood, like for example, or bamboos. You fire and the smoke would cover the painting. But it's covered by a special kind of layer of smoke. Okay, so here is a plan of this secret cave. It is just like a complex of architecture. You have the main chamber of this secret cave with a platform at the center. and you have layers and layers of plant form. And this one, it is the center, used to have a Buddha image at the center, or a Bodhisattva image, like Tara, it is the center. And the layers is probably an indication of the mountain. Sumolu Mountain, for example, it's just like a layer by layer, you go higher place. And it's a square plan. So it reflects a Chinese concept of the universe. The sky or the space toward the sky is round, and the earth is square. So eventually, at the center is a reflection or an indication of the universe. And then the space, actually, in the mental imagination or meditation, you are meditate on a universe. It's not like a very small kind of vision. And you have a front yard closed by wall, and here is a residence, a small house there. It's also a cave and a bed made of clay. So that is the master sleeps there and do meditation there. And next yard here, a larger house here, it's probably resided by his disciples and the servants. So it's a livable or usable space. It's not like you build a cave, then you leave. It is a place people actually take good use of it daily. So you see the master monk, it's just like his home, right? Every day he would say, sleep here and walk into this space. It's his private space. In occasion, that maybe the patron came, that would be the patron's space, but daily, the master would stay here and walk here. So it's a religious space, more sort of enclosed space. Right. Here, that's the ceiling of it. Right? You see the ceiling? Somehow the conservatist, the scientist, use chemical to clean the ceiling. They washed off some of the, say, oil kind of smoke on the ceiling. So now we could identify the materials like the Buddha images and the lotus flower at the center, and the characters that's the words of the Buddha, and we have layers of the Buddha. Eventually, again, a representation of the universe. All right, next. So, on the back wall, when you walk in, that's the main wall you would face. At the center is the Buddha, because the central icon always being the Buddha. And we see two large paintings representing Guanyin or Avalokiteshvara, the god of mercy, or sometimes people translate as goddess of mercy. So that's the most popular bodhisattva in Chinese Buddhist history, right? Then it's repeated. It's the same deity depicted twice in this secret cave. Then we ask the question, why the same deity need to be repeated? That is probably emphasize it's the patron and the users' great interest in this deity, right? Avalokiteshvara. That's the Avalokiteshvara in a Chinese way. So you have the so-called water and the moon decoration. And what interest is, the deity of Guanyin is associated with the story of the Tang monk we talked about, right? The monk Xuanzang's story and his disciple and their white horse is depicted there. And this side also episodes from the same traveling Tang monk story. So you see, this deity is associated with the Silk Road and with legends on the Silk Road, and the Tangut people. Their culture actually represents the encounter of different cultures, right? The Chinese, the Tangut, India, Central Asia, and Tibet. So their culture, just like the culture here in the States, it's like a melting pot of the Chinese tradition, of the Tibetan tradition, and of the Central Asian tradition. And you have this kind of stories that took place on the Silk Road visually depicted. So give you a close-up. You say this Tang monk and the monkey, right? You see this the smaller figure and the white horse on their way, on their journey to India, to Western regions, and other details depicted at the other side and supervised by the same deity. Yeah. Here is a close-up of another Guanyin. You see, at this site, particularly the Tangut period, we see the great popularity of Guanyin of Avalokiteshvara. And almost all these original Tangut cave shrines, the painting were covered by this kind of smoke. It's not like a very black, dark smoke. They are yellowish kind of smoke. So, it's quite a curious kind of situation. Why the Tangut period? Why in their caves we see this kind of smoke instead of like at the Mogao site, not very far, mostly built by the Chinese patrons. They used the caves covered by very dark smoke. That is a smoke by regular wood fire because the cook inside. But the Tangut kind of is covered by this yellowish, and we don't understand this until very recently with a new discovery. Yeah, next. You see, this cave, again, is covered by this kind of yellow, dark kind of smoke. This later additions to it, but the overall design is like the sacred cave we have. You have the central platform, and you have the Buddha and the guardians, and on the ceiling you have the universe, and you have the Guanyin, this 11-headed Guanyin of Avalokiteshvara, or this one, again, a Guanyin. So you see, it's repeated, and that gives us some hint to understand the nature of the Tangut religion, what's their focus, and what kind of religious practice popular in their time, and what would be the function of this kind of ritual practice, right? In order to understand the meaning and function of the Tangut sacred cave, we would begin with the patrons. So we have the patron images. Now, after washed out by scientists, we have clear view, and their names and their title written in the Tangut text. language and deciphered now by experts of that language. So this chief patron is a commander of the Tangut military, and his friend, also a local, army chief, and the grandson, and this neighboring army's commander's son. So it's a community, and the chief patron's son depicted here again, and it's mostly military officers who patronized this cave. It's from the Western Shah or the Tangut Kingdom when they occupied this area and they sponsored. So it's a typical Western Shah cave. And the other side are their wives and the female residents of that area. It's not from a single family. Instead, it's a community cave, mostly by officials and their relatives. Mostly, for example, this guy, it's not the guy who paid. Who is the chief of the secret service, right? The emperor's bodyguards. That's a very interesting way, because you see the Yuning caves are located very far from the capital. But we see the emperor's security chief show up at this site. And the local records also showed actually the emperor got sick when he toured this province and this region, and probably he spent some time in this valley to take a rest. So this cave is very likely built and used by the Tangut emperor himself. And it's patronized not by him, but by his commander of the army and the chief of his palace security force, and the relatives. And we still don't understand why this kind of motifs chosen and why they're so smoked. All Tangut caves are filled with smokes, and particularly this cave. So it seems in this cave, we see a continued ritual performance there. And this one, recently I figured it out by linking it to, say, some secret texts on, say, Buddhist ritual of firing meat, the so-called Saosi, or the offering of fire toward the Buddha, and particularly to the Guanyin of Avalokiteshvara. What would be fired or roasted, sometimes we would say, right? Would be two types. One is called vegetarian fire offering, that is the vegetables. And the other is called meat fire, right? 荤丝 meat fire. The meat include, say, goat, say, ox, this kind of pasturing animals, right? So this one, you see, on this table, we have the chopped and spiced meat and vegetables and fruits. You see, you have 4 bowls, 4 dishes, right, of this kind of prepared food for the firing. And you got a hot pot. You see here, you have the chimney, and you have this, and the fire would be here. It's just like the hot pot today. To put this food there, and it's instead of cook them, you just fire them. And because the deities painted on the wall and sculpted could not really eat, right? Because they don't have mouth, and how could they eat? Well, they do smoke. According to its kind of text now preserved in Tibetan language, and in Tangut language, and in Chinese language. These texts mostly have been ignored before. So recently, I find this detail because it's washed out, right? And then I find this is actually a firing offering ritual. You see, in the hand of this Guosi, or the state master, that's the monk advisor for the emperor. So it's an important royal kind of ritual space here. This state master is a match, right? You see the fire to light the fire of this kind of burner. Then you burn this kind of food into smoke. Then, because what you burn is beef, right, or ram, so you got this kind of very oil smoke on the surface of the painting. So when the scientists wash off this, you can't use water to wash it. At the Mogao caves, if the smoke is caused by wood, then it's easy to wash just with regular water. You could wash it out. But when they wash this Tangut caves, and the water doesn't work because it's oily, right? It's from meat. And that is a special sauce ritual or fire offering ritual. It's performed for the recovery of the emperor from illness. See, when people are ill, you would have this kind of a fire offering ritual repeatedly performed by the state master for the emperor. And for ordinary people, some people would invite monk to perform this, and some would use this ritual as a part of the funeral, right? People died, then in order to, say, receive protection from the deities, then you need to have this offering to the deities. So when they receive this, they say, all right, the dead is protected or guaranteed a space, not in hell, but not in paradise, but somewhere, right? Live a better life. That's the whole ritual. And this ritual is assisted by fellow monks in lower rank. You see, this group of people are chanting together while this ritual is going on. And this one is holding a bowl of meatball, as it's around. Get ready for the state master to put in fire. And we have more visual evidence for that. Next. You see, in this painting, for example, this is the patrons at this side, and the master. You see this burner, the hot pot burner in front, and the dishes of meat and vegetable in front. So when it is the time after chanting, then they just put the dishes into the burner and burn it. It's still the practice in, say, a certain area of Tibet. They're still doing that. And in central Gansu province, where the Tangut people used to live, the locals are still burning, say, meat and vegetable for their ancestors and for the Buddha and for Avalokiteshvara. More cases. This painting from a site called Halahoso, or the Black City, used to be a main city for the Tangut people, this vanished kingdom. And this is a painting produced in their time. And again, you see the cooking utensils. The fire, it would be underground, and then just cook it, and the fire sometimes directly on it. And you see this is the patrons. This is the food there. Mostly you won't offer the Buddha food in India or in Central Asia or in the Chinese territory. Mostly you offer fresh flowers instead. Right? You offer flowers because the Buddha won't eat. But for the Tangut people, the Buddha or Bodhisattvas do eat, or symbolically eat, the smoke. The smoke is the meat. Well, the Buddha is supposed to be a vegetarian, but for these people, the Tangut people, and for the Tibetan religious tradition, the Buddha could actually eat. The Dalai Lama, the current one, he used to say, my most favorite food is mala niuzu, or the spicy beef. That's his most favorite food, right? Dalai Lama eat meat. And here you have the Tangut people let the Buddha and let the Bodhisattvas to eat, symbolically, actually to eat meat. And the traces now is left on the wall of the Tangut caves. So it's very interesting. And more, you see the burner? Exactly like the ones depicted in the Yulin Secret Cave, Cave 29. You see, you have a place to hold the meat and the vegetable, and you have a small chimney to let the fire smoke out. And when the food is ready and there's smoke, yellowish smoke, also got to stick on the wall. And one more, this one is more close to contemporary burner. Even you go to, say, northwestern China, and you go to Tibet, you see this kind of burner in local funeral ground. The meat, vegetable, and the food, other whatever you could imagine, would be thrown into this stove kind of a burner, and a fire under, then the smoke come out. So it's still a living ritual practiced in the Tibetan area now, mostly by the Tibetan traditional lamas and local believers in the Hexi corridor and in Qinghai province. You still see this kind of now painted white, a white stuff to burn things. All right. Then, who are the patrons, right? We just touched part of it because we try to understand why they practice a different ritual from the commonly understood religious tradition of Buddhism, right? Vegetarian, and you actually don't offer food to an icon of the Buddha or Bodhisattvas. Instead, you offer fresh flowers. But why people actually offer food, meat, vegetable with fire? Then, so we try to understand these people. Yeah. See, that's the one we talked about. We have their inscriptions. See this one? His name is Zhao Ma Yu. Zhao Ma is a Zhao. It's this Chinese pronunciation, and suppose also adopted by the royal family of the Tangled Kingdom of Xixia, right? The royal family, the emperor's surname, the Zhao. But of course, not every royal member would be in the court, right? This one is the commander-in-chief of Sazhou and the present-day Dunhuang. He is the military chief. And in that time, is the governor would be the military chief as well. It's a commander and a governor, right? So it's the administrator and also the military chief. You have this guy from Sazhou and this guy from the internal security department that is in charge of the emperor's personal security, named Qiang Zhao. It's another. And Yu, this one. And this little guy, you see inscription for him as well. It's his grandson. So added to it, you see, it's very interesting. And this is the servants. So we are very clear. These people are Tangled people. It's not Chinese. It's not Tibetan. Instead, they are the Xia people. Yeah. And in front of them, that's the state master, right? This fellow is just lighting the fire, get ready to do the firing offering ritual. So here, and everybody is following him, just like he's leading the way to proceed with this sacred ritual, whose function, one, for healing, right? The emperor's sickness would be healed. And the other would be for the funeral to guarantee a better position for the dead in hell or in the other world. So the ritual has two functions, and that's what we would say, right? And what depicted inside on the side walls, we do have, say, the Tibetan style motif there. And you have these two, and say Wenshu, Manjushri, and Puxian. You have one right on elephant, and the other on lion, and you have paradise as well. One is the healing master's paradise for illness, right? Healing. And the other is the paradise, the Western paradise for the dead. So inside you have a dual structure for the wounded or for the ill, and the other for the dead. So you have this kind of two places. And this one, as a guardian, right? You have a 大力尊者 or a sacred master. Vajrapani, it's a guardian of Buddhism and guardian of devotees. Yeah, next. And this one, great protector, right? The Ming Wang, and you would see this deity made repeatedly in Japanese art, actually, the Fudo, right? No, the previous one, back one. This one, this is called Sacred Master. You see, the Sacred Master, the sacred cave, and the sacred ritual. So it's probably relevant to where it gets its name, right? It's called a sacred cave, and it's probably relevant to the motifs appearing in this cave. All right, next. Yeah. So here we have the healing master's paradise. It is prepared for the wounded the eel. So you have two chief bodhisattvas flanking the healing master. And the interesting thing is, you see, you have a water pond, you do. And the ground of this paradise, and next one, yeah. And the Western paradise, give you a detail, you can see it clearly. You do have the reborn figures, you have a water pond, but instead of the whole ground as water, this one you have green grassland. That's the land enjoyed by the Tangut people as the land of the Western paradise. People are not like in the Tang Dynasty, ordinary Western paradise, you would say the ground is completely water. It's a divine water, right? That people get cleaned. And the land is supposed to be made of gold, made of silver. But for the Tangut people, the land is grassland, it's green. It's just like their land, right? The pasturing their sheep and their cows. And then so we rethink about how artists represent their own paradise. Mostly still, they rely on their daily life and they want to project a better life based on their current contemporary life. So you see the land is replaced for the Tangut people as a grassland, and the water pond shrank into a smaller scale. Here you still have the reborn figures, and you still have that traditional concept of the Western paradise, but the overall environment is a grassland environment, mostly enjoyed by the Tangut people. Yeah. And you see the secret ritual started by the Tangut people, as we can say. From this one, you see it's the smoke, burned meat, the smoke on the wall. Now this tradition, although these people vanished, right? Their religion and their cultural traditions disappeared, but it's continued by the Tibetans. They learned their religion, Buddhism, from the Tibetans and from the Chinese, but they added their own thing. And this secret ritual, as depicted here, is actually invented by the Tangut people. And later on, so you see the cultural interactions on the Silk Road is always interactive. It's not a art spreading or a religious tradition spreading to the others. It's a two-way or triple-way kind of interaction, right? They learned from the Tibetans, and their additions, their invasions, also continued by the Tibetans. So it goes the other way. It's the same as the Chinese. The Tangut people learned from the Chinese, and the Chinese also continued the Tangut tradition as well, including this ritual. Yeah. So this secret cave built by the Tangut people actually illustrate the ways of cultural exchange on the Silk Road and provide a case for us to understand the complexity, the complex situation that actually beyond our current simplified understanding and interpretation. So on the Silk Road, I think the research needs to be continued, even like this kind of newly discovered materials, or we need to continue this research. And that secret cave here, just want to walk you out. I walked you into this secret ritualistic cave. Now, we walk out to see the culture and the art created by the vanished Tangled people and survived in a material way, like we say today here, right? And when we try to get back, in addition to the academic, dry approach, one way to approach it is a visual one. And I tried this to reconstruct the firing offering, right? Here you have the Buddha, and you have dead, sick people behind him, and the hand is out because it's in need. That would add a mythical environment to it. And the firing of sheep and ox here, and in a way, that actually imposes a question to the viewer. Does the Buddha actually eat meat? Well, that is the question posed to us by the Tangled people, right? They did offer the meat to the Buddha. And when Marco Polo went to China, right, from Italy to China, he traveled to this place. On his way back, after his service of the Yuan dynasty, right after the Tangled people were destroyed, Tangled kingdom destroyed by the Mongols, right? The Yuan dynasty, Marco Polo came, and it's not very far from the Tangled people's time. He actually recorded what he saw in the local Tangled communities. He said, these people worship idols, and these people even offering meat and vegetable food to blood to their idols. And he was so impressed. And so we read today Marco Polo's book. We still have some evidence to understand this secret ritual. And this is my interpretation of this secret ritual, the secret religion, and the secret cave. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ning. And we'll take just a few questions. Anyone have any comments or questions for Dr. Ning? Very interesting presentation of the Grottos, the secret space, and pulls a lot of things together. Yes, I'll bring that to
I think I was noticing auras similar to what Christian saints have around their heads in some of the pictures, but not in all of them. Would you like to talk about that a bit?
You mean the Christian kind of? Oh, you mean the halo? Yes. All right. Yeah, it's a good question. Oh, I have been asked this question many times. So where the oral or the halo actually started, right? Oh, there's no definitive answers to it. Oh, but it's a shared vision. It's just like a oral or a way to make the image more divine. It actually appeared, say, in Indian Buddhist art and in Chinese Buddhist art in quite early stage. We might date back to this kind of images to the 3rd century. But it is, I think, not necessary to really say which tradition used this earlier and which tradition used it later, because that would be a way people to understand how a divinity or a divine figure would look like. When I try to create the images of the Buddha, for example, then I start to think about this. How are you going to distinguish the Buddha from an ordinary person? And when I went to the Tibetan area in Qiang province, so I look into the sky, and then you find the special moment in the sky when the sun is blocked. And then you have this kind of round radiation. And that could be a vision people see, just like a miracle emerging in the sky or in the nature. So people might just apply that to a divinity figure, right? Either a Christian figure or a Buddhist figure or a Taoist figure in the Chinese case. And it's a shared vision that would make a human figure more divine and separate divine figures from an ordinary human being. So this is my thinking of it. Mostly it's an artistic kind of vision toward divinity. Yeah, that's what I understood it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, thank you very much for a very exciting presentation with a lot of new material, little known. I did have a question about the textual sources that discuss the fire offering ritual in Tibetan, Chinese, and Tangut languages. Are these texts considered tantras, or are they not tantric texts?
The texts in Chinese, you do have mostly tantras, right? Mostly the Tibetan traditions written in Tibetan language and in Chinese language. And in Tangut, some scholars translated the survival Tangut text into Chinese. So I got to read it. And they mentioned the firing offering, the south many times, particularly for the royal ritual, right? When the emperor got sick, then you hire a guosi or the state master to perform the firing offering ritual, along with other rituals like copying the sutras and chanting, right? But most of them are somehow connected to the Tibetan tradition. So that's an interesting part, but most of them were later texts, or later than the Tangut text. So this kind of visual evidence and textual evidence all pointed to one direction. That is, the Tangut people actually started this firing offering, right? And the earliest actual record about it is by Marco Polo. So this is a very interesting way to say, reference materials about the Silk Road. It's from all different languages. Yeah, that's what I know.
Thank you. Yes, it's so interesting. Would this be related to burning incense, this burnt offering, related to what we do now with burning incense?
Oh, you mean, the incense. That's interesting. Incense burning actually started quite early, right? To my understanding, maybe Sonia knows this better. In South Asia, the incense burning tradition probably started later, I think. Because the Chinese incense burning tradition started from the Warring States period, that is 3rd century BCE. So it's more than 2,000 years ago. Burning incense to purify the air and to generate a feeling of immortal land is relevant to paradise, right? People imagined the mythical mountain where the immortals would live in very far place and a very high place. So like a misty, cloudy place. And the incense, the smoke come out that way. So we see numerous incense burners in the earlier archaeological discoveries, like the Eastern Han and the Western Han, even back in the Warring States period and the Qin period. So this tradition, I think, developed mostly in China to burn incense to offer the Buddha. Probably we also see some traces in Central Asia, like the earlier paintings in, say, Qizhou and other cave sites. You do see incense burner there, but they emerged later than, at least in the Chinese materials, they are later than the older incense burner tradition in Taoist art. The burners carved on bronzes and on stone bricks in the Han tombs all indicate the incense burning tradition actually started quite early in China, and then somehow it merged with Buddhist ritual. Because in earlier time, you would say mostly it's offering of flowers, fresh flowers, to the Buddha instead of burning incense. And to burn the meat and vegetables, it's quite late. That would be the Tangut time, this new tradition to offer actual food to the Buddha actually started, I think it's the Tangut period. So the earliest Ning I could make would be the Chinese old tradition, even before Buddhism was introduced into China. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And with that, I think we'll close the evening and give our very best regards to Dr. Ning, a terrific lecture. Thank you.
Thank you.